Cassoulet is this great wintertime dish that is really conducive to entertaining. It also is going to make your house smell wonderful, and perfect vehicle for serving a really nice hearty red wine. It's got a lot of depth and character to it. You want the pan to be nice and hot, especially if the meat's cold. It's going to drop the temperature of the pan, so you don't want the meat to steam. You want to create a nice sear on the outside. That sear also will help create a brown glaze on the bottom, which again is contributing more flavor, more depth. I'm using our Sauvignon Blanc. It has good acidity, and that's really what I'm looking for with the tomato and the wine, is to provide a little bit of spark to the dish. Make your own confit. You'll have some of that duck jelly, so I'm going to throw that in because that's going to contribute good flavor. Once this comes to a strong simmer, cover it with a tight-fitting lid, put it in a 350-degree oven. It's going to bake for about an hour and a half until the pork is tender. You're going to cook the beans in the water that they soaked in. We're going to add onions, carrots, and celery to help contribute flavor to the beans. In this instance, they're cut up bigger so that we can pull them out later. We're going to bring this up to a simmer. We'll skim off any foam that may rise to the top, and then slowly simmer it for an hour. Turn them off, and then we'll add our salt in at the end and let them cool in that. My understanding and the way I've always done is always add salt at the end. Pulled all the carrots and celery and onions they were cooked in. We're going to return this to the oven for another half hour, and that's going to give the beans an opportunity to suck up a lot of the flavor that the pork's been cooked in. This is one of those dishes that is long and slow, and it's all about building up flavor. While you're waiting for your beans to sort of simmer together in the oven, we're going to sear off our duck confit and also our sausages. These are garlic sausages. I don't think you want to put a sausage in there that's been smoked, but it could be any variety of sausage. We're not necessarily cooking them all the way through. Your house should be smelling pretty good about this time. Now we're going to layer these into a casserole dish. Use something earthenware. That'll distribute the heat really well. I think it bakes in the oven more evenly that way. We're going to spoon out about a third of the beans and the pork into the bottom of this dish. Create a little base to set your duck onto. We'll take half the duck confit and lay that on the bottom. Then we'll go ahead and we'll do another third of our beans and pork, the remaining duck confit in here, and then finish it off with what's left. Cover it with broth, and then we're going to pop this back in the oven for about an hour. Everything's going to slowly bubble in here. There's going to be a little bit of evaporation that takes place. Some of the starches that are in the beans are going to help to thicken the liquid a little bit. We're starting to look nice. Earthenware is holding the heat really well, and things are starting to bubble. Flavors are getting combined. So at this point, I want to add the sausages in. We're going to sort of bury them in the cassoulet. Hopefully do it without burning yourself. You want it to cook so that the beans are sort of giving up a little bit of their starch and starting to thicken things. We're going to put a little breadcrumb mixture over the top, and I've got panko, just Japanese breadcrumbs with plenty of parsley leaves, some chopped garlic, pinch of salt and pepper. Pulse this, nice and fresh. Add a little spark of flavor at the very end. Now we're going to put breadcrumbs over the top and return this to the oven for another half hour or so. It's been simmering for hours in the oven, and all the different flavors have melded together, and the beans have absorbed a lot of it. It's very rich. It's one of those dishes, I think, that was probably invented before there was central heating.
Wow. Wow, it's seamless. The wine and the dish go together incredibly well. Being grown down close to the Carneros region, it's a little bit cooler, and it does retain a lot of the natural acidity, fruit concentration, and tannin. It's a little bit more on the spicy side, and it does show great minerality and a little bit of earth.
You mentioned the acidity. It's really important because this could very easily become just really rich. The nice thing about having a glass of wine like this next to this dish is it does cut that richness. So one of the components of making cassoulet is confit. The day before, I'm gonna cure these. I'm gonna liberally salt both sides of them with the seasoning salt, 4-spice, that traditionally in France would contain kosher salt, good dose of ground black pepper, and then just a little pinch of cloves, cinnamon, and nutmeg. That's liberally done on there. Gives an opportunity for those flavors to sort of seep into the meat. Also smash up a couple cloves of garlic and some rosemary and some thyme and just put it in a bowl and put it in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, and the other ingredient you need is duck fat. You'd warm that fat up on top of the stove, put your duck legs in it, and you're cooking in the duck fat like you're poaching. Okay, so what you want to do is warm the duck legs up in the fat and put it in a low oven, say about 300 degrees, and then just slowly cook that, like simmering it for about 2.5 hours till the legs are starting to pull away from the bone. Take it out of the oven, remove the duck legs from the duck fat, let the duck fat cool down, strain it, pour that room temperature fat over it, and then I can store this for a month easily. I mean, it really can even go longer than that, as long as the fat sort of seals it in there and it's all airtight. And then you just pull it out as you need it. Another nice benefit of making your own confit is when the duck cooks, there's juices that come out of the duck that sort of settle in the bottom of the pan. When you strain off the duck fat and the duck fat then solidifies, you'll wind up with this what we call duck jelly in the very bottom, and it's full of flavor. If you buy confit, you don't get this. So it's another reason why you might want to make your own. You just want to cut off less than 1/3 of the top of the bulb, just enough to expose all the cloves inside. Set them on a piece of foil, drizzle them with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil just so it sort of coats the cloves that are exposed. And then pinch of salt. I mean, you could put in a sprig of thyme in here, and then just seal it up tight. Throw it in a preheated 400-degree oven. Typically takes about an hour for the garlic to be nice and tender and starting to brown. These particular beans are from a purveyor we use here in Napa Valley called Rancho Gordo. They specialize in dried beans. He just recently started growing the same bean that they use in that part of France. There it's called tarbet, but in all honesty, you could use any white bean. A lot of times I'll use flageolet beans as well, but you want a white bean and that's going to hold its shape because cassoulet really does cook for a long period of time, so you don't want one that's going to break down and sort of totally dissolve into the stew.